Well, hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Hopefully everybody's doing well. And of course it's early morning for me. Good old coffee. Enjoy that so much. Well, let's talk about a few things here. Money matters. Now, if you're planning on coming here, there's a few things you really need to be aware of. And that's being able to access your money while you're here. And what you need to do before you make those plans, you need to inform your financial institution, bank, whatever, what your plans are. And that way, when you're making purchases abroad, here in the Philippines, you'll not be flagged and locked out of your money. You need to make sure. And you need to also secure a way that another person can actually access your funds, just in case of the worst case scenario. I'm telling you this because this is some of the things I prepared for almost 13 years ago. And things are even tighter with security on purchasing abroad now. So it's worse than it was when I traveled. Now, online money transfers. You need to set up a minimum of 3 different ones to actually send yourself money. There's a lot of those available. Some people use Remy, Zoom, which is spelled with an X, by the way. Of course, the old reliable Western Union, which is the most expensive. But it wouldn't hurt to have that in your back pocket, just in case you actually had to use it. That's one of the things I did. It was my last choice, but I had to use it. Because I got canceled on one of my money transfers. Well, I'll tell you the facts about it. I hadn't been here just maybe, I think, 3 months at the time. And just getting my feet on the ground. And I tried to do a transfer with my regular one I was using. I informed these people before I came. Which was Zoom. I Zoomed myself some money and got my number. And I was waiting for the go so I can go pick up my money. Usually normally it took about a 2 or 3 minute process. And I just run down to the local pawn shop and just collect my money. Well, it never came. So I tried again. And again, I got a number that you normally would go and get pick up your money at one of the local pawn shops. And it didn't get approved. So I went online to check my bank account. The money had been removed. Of course, I got excited. Because that was a lot of money at the time. The 2 transactions equaled $1,000. So, the only thing I could do, at that time, I didn't have a computer at home. Because unfortunately, when I plugged up my computer from the United States, I forgot to switch it over to 220, and I kind of fried the transformer in it. So I had to go to one of the local cafes that had the headsets and microphones so I could make a call. Because at that time, I was using Skype, and I had a local U.S. number on it. And I called these people up. And the person on the other end of the line, I give one of the numbers to them, and I said, "Now what's the problem?" "Oh, your account's been closed." "What? What do you mean closed?" "Oh, it's been closed." I said, "Explain it to me." "I'm not allowed to." What do you mean you're not allowed to? Let me speak to your supervisor. I spoke to the supervisor, and he told me the same thing. Then I replied, well, why did you remove my money from my bank if my account's closed? Well, I can't discuss that with you, sir. What? You can't tell me why? And you got my money? They said, I'm sorry, sir. We just can't discuss that with you. I said, okay. Now, this part I lied about. I'll just be honest with you. I told him a big lie. I said, that's fine. I said, just so happens my mother is friends with the Attorney General. If my funds are not back in my bank account within the hour, you won't have no contact from me. You'll have contact from the Attorney General. Plain and simple. I said, it's up to you what your decision is. And I hung up. So I'll go back home, scratching my head trying to figure out why they closed my account. Well, I checked my bank account, and my money was back in there, by the way. So I used the expensive Western Union to get my money. And I looked at Grace. I said, I got to find another way. I said, I'm not going to gamble on us being without funds. So that's when I went and started searching for a way to get my money here in the Philippines. Cut all ties with the U.S. And I found out that BPI had nationwide branches. I don't forgot the number at that time, how many branches they had, but they're available about anywhere you would go. I told Grace, I said, we need to see if we can get an account opened with them. So we go to a BPI branch in Lapa, Mactan Island. And we sat down with the branch manager and explained what we wanted to do. In the beginning, make you aware, they had no clue what I wanted when I said I want a direct deposit. They just give me a weird look. What are you talking about? Finally, someone mentioned, oh, he wants a pension account. I said, yeah. I said, what's the requirements for that, and how much do we have to keep in the balance? They explained to me the pension account, it's a dollar account, and only I would have access to it, and I would be required to come in personally to withdraw funds from that. I said, oh, okay, I can handle that. See, what else do I need? Well, they needed a copy of my bio or my passport, my last entry date. And one by one, I think they asked for 3 at that time, 1-by-1 pictures, and a second ID to validate who I was. And they said you also need your ACR card, Alien Certificate for Registration. Of course, at that time, I was in the process of doing my permanent resident, so all I had that was valid was my tourist visa. And they kind of looked at it and said, well, we don't do tourists. And I said, well, I'm applied for the 13A, but it'd be a while before I get that card. They said, well, that'll be okay. And then they said, oh, we also need a bank statement. Well, that was a little bit complicated. I could get one emailed to me, but I had no way of printing it. Of course, I was not aware that I could have went to one of the computer stores and actually do that at that time. I was still green, but the guy there that was familiar with pension accounts says, "Well, if you can email it to me, I can print it at home." I said, that sounds fantastic. So that's what I did when I got home. I got that bank statement emailed to me, and I emailed it to his email. And the next morning, I contacted him at the branch, texting. He said, "Yes, I received it and I did print it off." He said, "Just need you to come in and sign your forms to open your account." So that's what Grace and I did. We went back to the branch. I forgot how many times I had to do my signatures. It seemed like it was like 9 times or something like that. And give the pictures and so forth. And I said, "How long will it be before my funds would start transferring into this account?" And the guy said, "Normally," he said, "it usually takes about 2 months." He said, I said, "Oh, okay, I can handle that. I believe I can survive that long." And of course, it didn't take that long, to be honest with you. I think that was like in the middle of the month, and when my next check was due, deposit, it actually hit that account. And then I opened up a peso account. Now, BPI doesn't require a balance on your pension account. So that would allow you to actually wipe all the funds out. If you save you a lot of trips to the bank. So I opened up the peso account, and at that time I put Grace on it also. And we deposited the majority of the money into the peso account. And that's when we got our first ATM card. At that time, it wasn't a Visa or a MasterCard. It was a regular bank card, debit card, which was kind of inconvenient in a way because only selected merchants would actually take it. So you basically had to, most of the time I'd use an ATM machine, which wasn't a big issue. But I wanted to make everybody aware of that at that time. And finally, they changed their format, and now it's MasterCard debit card, which it works perfectly. Now, secondly, for those that uses an ATM card, bank card, whatever, if it's Visa or MasterCard or whatever the logo is, you need to inform your bank that you will be using that abroad. And also ask, is it international friendly? That's another thing. My ATM card at that time, even though it was, I think it was Visa, it didn't work internationally. And I didn't ask the bank about that. Even though I informed them that I was going to be in the Philippines so they wouldn't lock my account up. And I took the limits off too. That's something else you got to make aware of too. Some banks will limit you to a daily withdrawal of $100, and which I got away from that. I told them, I really don't need any limits on it. So they fixed that for me. Because even if you're trying to transfer online to at that time money, it was limited to that same deal. Excuse me. Now, that's some of the things you need to know. You need to secure your way of getting your funds. Now that all my money, everything is actually secure in the Philippines. Now, if you're have investments and stuff like that, and this mainly applies to people who has a single pension only, like Social Security. Now, if you got multiple sources of funds and you got investments, you probably not want to do the same as I did. I have, because you're still doing business and still earning funds and so forth. So it might not be a good thing for you. Maybe you can have a single account. That way, make it a little easier on one particular pension. I'll give Social Security for an example. Also, you need to make sure you have that emergency person to be able to access your funds. You know, things happen for different reasons, and you may need them. I did that part. I had an emergency person that could actually access my funds. So that's some of the things you need to be made aware of. Now, trying to think of what else. When you first come here and live in here, I don't suggest to sign a long-term lease agreement with the rental. The reason for that, you may not like the location because everybody's different. My first place had a 1-year lease on it. I liked it, but it was just kind of inconvenient because that first year I didn't have any transportation, and walking out to get transportation was close to a mile from where I was renting in that subdivision. By the time you make all the turns and exits and so forth. Maybe not a mile, it's probably a half mile. It's still a long way to walk in this heat. And it made it a little inconvenient. Now, I did change that before we actually left that particular subdivision. Ended up buying a motorcycle, a little Honda 125. So that made it a lot better. Yeah. But my second location was deep in the subdivision again. And cut my rent 2/3. That's another thing too. If you're living on a budget, you need to find a place that doesn't dip into your budget so much. And that worked out quite great for us. We lived there. I'm trying to think. I did sign another 1-year deal with them. And they were so nice and everything. On the first place I rented, I didn't get my deposit back. They come up with every excuse in the world. Now, that's something else I need to make you aware of. If you're going to rent a place, before you actually move in, you better document with pictures and save those to where you access those when you get ready to leave. The reason I say that, I failed to do that on that first place that I rented. And I was blamed for a damaged wall, which was damaged before I moved in. And I didn't document it. So they kept my deposit. Now the second place, when we decided we was going to move to Negroes, I had no issues with those. And the rent was cheap. And when it came time to move, those people were so nice, and the house actually had a problem with drainage from the kitchen sink. It was a constant battle keeping the trap cleaned out and the drain line to actually to the outside. And it was, they were going to have to take up the floor and reposition the line so it would drain. And I actually just volunteered to let them keep the funds to help with something. Because I just felt sorry for them because it was a big issue. Every time it rained, it flooded the house. Because the gutter water also went through that same drain. I guess the engineers thought the gutter water would keep it flushed out. And it wouldn't, because the pipe was just too level and it just accumulated stuff and it stopped up. Back to money matters. When you first come here, you get excited. depends on your income. Now, if you're like me, which my only source of income is Social Security, you need to grasp reality because this it's not a friendly place when you're broke. Uh, and, and foreigners don't have a tendency to want to let you borrow money or be kind-hearted. You'll find out it's a cold place when it comes to that. So you need to keep in mind that you need to watch your funds and, and be very careful with that. The reason I'm doing this video too is that I think I did this once before. That I've been asked on a number of occasions about this. So I thought I'd redo it and refresh everybody on things that I have experienced personally. Now, some of these things have changed since I've been here. Keep that in mind too. Like with banking right now, they do want you to have a more. They would be more discreet with the requirements and how long you're going to be in the bank, be in the Philippines. So those things will have changed some. Now, personally, I don't know the exact details because, like I said, my account is 12 years old or a little older. So I'm just letting everybody know my experience personally in getting it set up now. That covers some of the money matters, sure, and you can find a place to rent. Online, it's not a good place to find. You won't find the most affordable ones there, or some places that are not as nice. You need to hire a tricycle or whatever, a taxi, do the splurge and get out and look around and find these places and talk to the owners and so forth, or who's taking care of the property. And the reason I said to use a tricycle or taxi is you need someone who's familiar with the area and try to fill you in on what goes on around there, if it's a good location, whatever. Now, most of them will be honest with you. But anyway, folks, I'm glad you joined me today, and hopefully this information will help you in some form. And oh yeah, I almost forgot. Now, when you're doing a direct deposit account, I think about all the banks will allow you to do that. But the key factor is you need to ask if you can do over the counter at any branch. Now, BPI will. I know that personally because I've been to several islands since I've been here, and we have actually done that. With it, you know, it's a fact. It can be done. Now, there are other banks that require you to go back to your home branch, the one you opened the account with. To me, that would be inconvenient if you move around. Now, if you're going to be in one place only, that's fine, I guess. But if you're going to move around and actually do little spurts like Grace and I have done in the past, do little mini vacations, as I say, it's very important to have that opportunity to go to the branch and be able to do all your business. So, thought I'd let that be a little info that you probably can use and be aware of. It's being able to access your money anywhere you're at in the Philippines. So please be aware of that, and don't forget to ask if you do set up an account. And again, I really appreciate everybody, and thanks for watching, and stay tuned, and I'll try to do some more videos on some of the financial statuses and things of what you can expect. So, y'all take care now, and that most important thing, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Well, and here we go. Oh,